Hello, hello, and welcome in, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Titan Talk. I'm Isaiah, Kilgoon with me as usual, and PonPon is with us today because it is time, chat. It is time to talk about Open Beta 13 and Mercury. There's a whole lot of stuff in this update. I was looking at the list from Kilgoon, and I was like, dang. This is probably the biggest show that we've had in a while. So almost certainly probably not any time for questions towards the end. And we may be hanging out for a little bit more than an hour today, but we'll kind of take the show as we go and kind of go from there. But before we get into it, how you guys doing?
Yeah, doing good. I'm looking forward to a crazy day. I'm looking forward to see chat lose their minds at least twice. I'm hoping for 3, but we'll see. We are going to start out just kind of normally going through the new god and stuff, and then we'll get into some of the more crazy stuff. So we are, it's a good day. It's hopefully lucky number 13 for us, and y'all are excited about OB13.
Sweet. Well, before we get into Open Beta 13, we did release a hotfix probably about an hour ago that we wanted to call out. A couple bug fixes in that patch. We addressed an issue with, yesterday we addressed an issue to where you could use Blink and the cooldown would be a lot shorter than intended. And then there were some knock-on effects to that fix to where after that fix went live, you could blink while in combat in some cases. So that's been fixed up. So Blink should be acting as normal now. But the bigger thing in today's hotfix is that Ganesh's aspect did receive a nerf and own the ability to caught a few different hits there. I believe we removed the protections for self and allies. We reduced the damage and reduced the scaling on it.
And reduced your speed a little bit.
And reduced the speed,
So it was real good. We thought it was going to be good. It ended up being even more good than we thought it was going to be. Now it's probably
I think it's one of the cases where like in playtest sometimes like the first pass numbers were like definitely way too low, and then like it gets that feel in the playtest where it's like not doing that much, and we gotta buff it. And eventually it's like, well, we buffed it like 3 times. Let's just crank it to max, and that sometimes is just too much.
Sweet. Well, those changes should all be live in SMITE too. But shall we get right into what's coming up in the next update? Let's talk about Mercury. Up first. I will bring up the handy dandy desktop. That was a good impression.
Thank you. I am notorious for having the worst impressions, but my Mercury is okay.
There we go. So this is Mercury in SMITE 2. Pon, before we get into the kit, just talk to me a little bit about bringing him over.
Yeah, so Mercury, beloved assassin, has a pretty strong kit overall. Like each ability feels really good. They all have their purpose. He's the one punch character where his passive works really well with that. So a lot of his kit is very similar. We focus mostly on some feels improvement things as well as some visual upgrades for him. You can tell he has a new model, which is I think we've showed before, and that looks really, really cool. And then we did try to add a little bit of extra spice to encourage really long range ults.
Nice.
So we can go into each of the new +1 features.
Sweet. Well, let's talk about a little bit of a little hitch there, but don't mind me. Let's talk about ability 1 first.
Actually, let's go passive. Ooh, you might be in a broken
I might be in a broken state here. Ooh.
Oh no.
That's not good. Hold on. Hold on, chat. Let me see if I can. I'm going to bring us back to cams here. Let me see if I can exit and rejoin. Like let's see here. Dun, 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 dun.
Well, we can talk about the first thing. So passive. SMITE 1, if you jumped, you did not get passive charge. That has been fixed. It would have actually taken a lot of effort to make it work that way in SMITE 2. But it is just a nice quality of life thing for him. It's one of those things where, like, because of the way we did it in SMITE 1, it was really difficult to resolve. It's now just done. So that just Merc players can actually rebind their jump again. Feels good. The AO1 got some visual upgrades, so there's a bit more oomph to the trail. There's a bit more oomph to the hits, where you have like these afterimage mercs that are actually punching the gods that you hit. But the other small thing we did was we made the min size, the rank 1 size, a bit bigger. One, just to make sure that, like, as you're clearing the jungle camps in SMITE 1, you actually have to like very finagle it perfectly to make sure you get all of them.
It was a little too small.
It was a little too small, so we just wanted to make that a little more forgiving, but we still think the value of it ranking up over time, so that you're not just poking people for free like in the laning phase, was still important. So we kept that there. The 2, I believe, is the same. The 3 got an extra feature where you can actually now right-click cancel to throw. So this is actually something where if like a lot of the times if you're like you just need to get someone a certain direction, you don't really care about the damage it's providing, you can grab them and turn your camera real quick and throw them immediately to your team, or you can let it actually time out naturally. And then the ultimate, the big +1 for the ultimate is you now get a burst of speed after you ult, and that scales with the amount of time you spent charging it, not the amount of distance you go. So if you fully charge it but then aim it at a wall so you don't go that much distance, you will actually get the full amount. And it's like a like a 40% speed stim, which for buffs is really, really high if it's max, and it lasts for quite a bit of time, which also contributes to the power you get from your passive, which means that after you ult, you can miss your first 2 punches to get the final punch hit, and then you crit them for 1,500 damage. That's also
seems good.
It's pretty good. And that's also one of his trackers is the highest. It actually tracks your highest crit damage.
Oh, nice. That's cool. That's a fun one.
He's a character that you can do a lot of things to really optimize that. And then actually one that I missed was, this was a feature in Smite 1. We removed it in Smite 1. We've brought it back in Smite 2 with a few extra rules, which is his 1 will now also proc in-hand effects.
Nice.
It used to proc in-hand effects. We changed it to proc ability effects. It now procs both. And as a result, there are some interesting things. So, for example, Hydra's Lament says when you cast an ability, you get your next in-hand attack will deal bonus damage.
Yeah. Which
includes the one that you just cast. So Hydra's is pretty good. We'll see. We'll see if we need to make some more rules things.
Right,
you can see why we didn't do this in the past.
Is he pure strength scaling?
He is pure strength
scaling. Okay, because I was about to say you could also do like Poly plus Hydra.
You can do Poly, and Poly will
Blade.
actually proc immediately, but it doesn't do that well. Golden Blade, really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah, you played Golden Blade one day.
Yeah, I played like a tank version just to really try and maximize it, and I was actually doing. I think I was like second highest damage in that one by being pretty tanky. It's pretty good.
I think we are good now. I had to remake the lobby, but we should be in action.
We were sitting in the lobby for a little while, so maybe something.
So we might need to come up with some more rule stuff for the one to enable this, but we do want to generally try and keep this where you can, because the theme of the ability is he's traveling there and punching. So you can see the little after images popping up. There's like a little trail that goes to the location and travels back to you after it finishes up. So just a lot of like visual +1s. Chuck did a lot of effort in getting these to look and feel really good. There's still a few more things that we need to clean up, like the ult. There's a crack on the ground. I need to get the opacity fading out, but like those types of things will get done before we release him.
Cool. So that was the 1. I think you talked through all the changes for that. Anything on the 2 that we want to talk about?
Not on the 2. On the 3, we can showcase the right click to throw.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
So if you dash into this Ymir and then right click, you'll be able to throw it. So that was the normal one. That was timing out. And then
just right click.
Oh no, I don't think it's working.
Do you have cancel bound to something else?
Ooh, maybe.
I can take a look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have your non-standard keybinds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll look at that. It looks like there's something wrong with the because we actually. We'll get to that later, but we actually have done some stuff with the cancel input.
Yeah.
that also might be interfering with it. So
yes. But yes, the intent is that you can cancel this ability early. You can almost instantly.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
And
there you go.
Pon is very good at it and was throwing us around all over the place during some playtests. And it took a little getting used to, but it was interesting when you would choose to do that versus not, right? Like, if your team is around to take advantage of the stun, definitely useful. If you just want to like quick knock up into punching and chase after them, also an option.
Yeah.
Yep. And then if we do the ult, after you cast it, you'll see another buff on your bar. That means you got like 22% of the movement speed. That was my way of displaying the movement speed that you got. So if you fully charge it, it should say 40, which takes 4 seconds. It's a really long charge. Yeah, there's your 40. And you just have a whole bunch of extra movement speed that should contribute. So
yes, and you can just keep clapping incessantly if you want to be a traditional Mercury player.
Yes.
Yeah, he feels really good. I played him in a couple playtests, and I did pretty well with him. You know, if you're used to Mercury, he feels like Mercury, but with some nice +1s.
Yep.
Sweet.
Mercury.
I will hover the abilities just because I know chat likes it when I do that.
I do think one other note is he does not have an aspect.
Yes.
We just didn't, we had a few ideas internally of things we wanted to do for an aspect for him, but none of them really landed. None of them felt that great, and we didn't feel like we wanted to just rush one out for him when we didn't really have a strong vision for one. So he does not have an aspect. He'll basically be added to the pile of gods that, as we add aspects for, he'll come back up again if we have a good idea. But he's not going to ship with one.
Sweet. Well, that is Mercury. And like Kilgan said, he's feeling really good.
Yeah, I think the one that I already saw chat suggest, which was you could make him ranged where his 1 becomes his auto attack.
Yeah, that could be cool.
That is a lot more. There's a lot more knock-ons in that than there's a lot more to solve there than just making the ranged attack. It doesn't quite work that way. We did think about it, and we walked through the exercise of trying that one, and it wasn't going to work that way.
Sweet. Well, that is Mercury.
Oh yeah, and he does have one more movement speed than every other god. I did make sure that's there. I think if you actually go to the passive, I wrote it there.
Let's see.
Right click to get more info. No, I didn't put it in there. I need to do that. I wrote the text for it, so it's localized. I just need to put it on the tooltip.
Cool. Sweet. Well, that is Mercury and Smite 2. I will bring us back to Cam's, and we can check out the Ascension Pass really quick.
Ascension Pass, and then we'll look at the aspect, and then we'll...
Not for Mercury, though.
No, the new aspect. Yes.
And let's see here. I am scrolling to Mercury Mastery. Here we go. All right, so we got Shadow Mercury up first. I like how the addition of like the little cloth just gives a little bit of extra depth to the Mastery skins.
And you'll notice when we're looking at even the base model, it has been updated since we last showed it off, and the fabric should be a little bit better than, because that was still a work in progress last time we showed it.
Yeah,
cool. And then this is the tracker Pon was talking about, max crit, the highest amount of damage done in one hit by Mercury. So just build that crit. And
the trick is you're gonna want crit, Deathbringers, Hydra's Lament. You're going to want to try and ult someone max range, have as many speed boosts as you want, so get someone to stampede you, get someone to lower their protections, and then with your first 2 basic attacks so that your third one hits with your passive, and you'll make pretty good progress towards this. There's still a lot of ways that you can cheat even more damage out, but
for sure. Then you've got the Mastery emote, you've got the clap, objectives destroyed, god assists. And the second tracker is interesting. It's around Mercury. So it's the distance Mercury has traveled relative to the circumference of Mercury. Who came up with this one? That's a good one.
So this was, India came over to talk to us about what we wanted to do here. And we were chatting about different things that we could be doing. And then we talked about the soul one, which is like distance towards the sun. And we're like, oh wait, what about like running around Earth? Because he runs really fast. And then I think India had the idea to, instead of doing Earth, do Mercury, because Earth is bigger than Mercury. So Mercury is actually more achievable to run around.
It's true, That's a good tracker.
And I think we figured you had to play something like, it was like 2,000 hours of Mercury.
Oh my god!
If you actually want to get this to be 100%. So good luck. It's a goal to aspire to.
For sure.
They're so fun. I think we've done some really fun things with the trackers and with the emotes. I think the Ascension Pass is just really neat.
Yeah, they're so sick.
And ult, it is just distance traveled. So your ult counts, your 3 counts.
Oh, nice.
Like while you're jumping, it should count.
All right, we got Onyx Mercury up next. The classic black and gold, looking slick. Then Opal. Ooh, I like the purples here on this, on the armor. The deep purples specifically are really cool. The global emote is close to my heart as an anime fan. Let's see if chat can get the reference here, but this is good.
That's good.
And then we've got his wave emote. The title is Messenger. You've got your God Kills tracker, your Mastery badge here, and then last but not least, Radiant Mercury for hitting Mastery level 10.
That's great looking.
Yep. And I'm assuming the card effects are still
we can
work in
take
progress. They might be done. I don't know. They look good.
Yeah.
Looks like you're going fast.
Gotta go fast.
Yeah.
Speed lines.
Sweet. All right. I will bring us back to Cam's. I believe next on
the list is
the aspect for the
aspect. Do you want to talk us through what we should be expecting here?
Yeah. So Nuwa aspect. So this is a bit of a nod to move her towards the playstyle people have already done decently successfully, which is in-hand Nuwa, with a few other tweaks that just give her some different ways to play. So the big thing, the biggest part of this is actually Fog Cloud is getting pretty significant changes. The first part is that Fog Cloud, instead of just traveling forward and staying forward and just going the same speed the whole time, is it'll start going forward and then slow down and stop and become like an actual field. So you can just drop this on a wave and it'll actually stay on the wave and deal damage. That's already just a change that is pretty different. But the secondary change for it is if you're in the field and you auto attack, you are not revealed from stealth. You stay stealthed. So you can drop this, go into the fog cloud, and basically be a turret that's really hard to see. People are going to have to react to the actual projectiles you're shooting. So this gives her just an area where she's really, really, really potent. That helps her generally be a bit safer to be more close to like trying to land her auto attacks. So pretty cool change off the bat.
It's really fun.
Yeah. There's some other things to support it as well. So, for example, I think it's Strength of Fire, which is the one you get for your ults. That now gives you a significantly more increased attack speed. So that after you ult, it's basically your ult's kind of a stim, because the ult, if you're doing in-hand stuff, isn't as good because you're not getting that much int scaling. The second part of that to help that, though, is that it now deals damage based off 80% of what your basic attack would do. So as you build more strength, as you build more in-hand, if you have like Dagger Frenzy and pop that, that'll contribute to your ult damage instead of int. And then I believe it's the 3 damage lost some int scaling, and the 3 explosion damage lost int scaling. So you're not relying so much on you're really looking for the stun on that combo rather than the actual damage that Shining Metal and the Clay Soldiers provide.
Yeah, and then another big one here that I can see in the text is that Fire Shards now scales with basic attack power, can critically strike, and procs basic attack item effects. So you can crit with your ult now.
Strong.
Why did we need that?
Yeah.
Is that really necessary?
This will just be the thing that happens after we go live with this and everyone makes like 3 Reddit threads about how strong it is.
Oh, no. Let's see if I can build some crit here and show it off. We'll do Rage. We'll do a Deathbringer.
You can also get the Death Metal. Death Metal's good here.
Oh, yeah. Let's see here. Where is Death Metal? Here we go. And Demon Blade as well. Why not? You know?
Yeah.
Evil shall be cleansed.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
And then you can see that that Strength of Fire bonus as well. Getting some of that bonus attack speed.
This is also a really good time to show off something that I was going to talk about a little bit later in the quality of life section, but I think we're kind of showing it right now. We now have a new reticle with hit markers. So there will also be a sound tied to the hit marker that's just a little bit in progress right now that will be coming soon. And then right there you saw the kill marker.
Killed.
So when when you get a kill, it also shows it right in the middle of the screen. So it's really easy to see when you're hitting and when you're getting kills. And with the audio feedback too, we've seen some mock-ups of it. The sound should be coming tomorrow, I think, in our dev test. It should just feel a lot more like I am making impact on things, and it's a lot more obvious what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's also nice, like if you drop if you're like playing a character that drops like a tick field and you drop it behind you, you can actually like tell that your opponents are actually chasing you because they're getting ticked by it.
Yeah, it's awesome. And then also you will be able to change the color of your reticle in the settings menu. You can choose between white, cyan, green, or red. You can change the thickness of your reticle in the menu. And that's it for the reticle stuff. So there's a lot more other stuff in this update, but the new hit marker plus kill marker, change color, change thickness should be good feeling for everybody. We were also just talking this morning about currently we're still hiding your reticle when you pull up an ability targeter, and we might make a separate setting that lets you leave that on while you pull up targeters if you're the kind of person that would like to see that. So.
Yeah, lots of quality of life stuff going in, and
that's just the start of it.
I know, right? Yeah, we haven't even gotten.
There's a lot of quality of life
I did not even think this was going to make this patch, and then Charlie was just like, "Oh yeah, that's in." I was like, "Wait, really?" So we did. That's why the audio wasn't in yet, because I was like, "Oh no, we don't have to worry about that for this patch." So it's pretty cool.
Cool. All right. I believe next up on the list, Kilgoon, as I bring us back to cams. The new Q screen, right?
Oh yeah, we were gonna do that first.
Yeah. Kilgoon's like, I'm waiting because I know what's coming up.
Yeah. So as part of this update, we're shipping an all new Q screen.
And you might notice some things that look a little bit different as we get here.
Yes.
Yeah. So this should be a very easy to understand, straightforward screen. So if you want to queue for normal, you would click. It's actually say classic. It's not gonna say unranked. Click classic. And then click the mode you want to queue for.
Yeah.
And it's that easy.
It's easy.
Super straightforward, easy to understand. I think the style of this also looks pretty darn good.
Yeah.
People are like, King Arthur, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we have a lot of great art from SMITE, and we're like, we should use the great art from SMITE to make these queues look cool. So, every god is going to come over eventually. Obviously, there's some gods featured here that aren't in the game yet. And then we also have moved duel into the competitive section just because we thought it flowed better. It was easier to understand. I think that's most of if you go to one of the big things about this too is that we've moved the the custom queue screen to our faces are covering it.
Oh,
but
sorry.
that button says custom down in the corner.
Let's see here.
So,
toggle on cams. There we go.
Yeah. If you want to play,
I'll get us out of the way.
If you want to play a custom, you would click on that now, and then you would create a custom lobby. This is kind of still the same UI that it was before because. But previously, the UI put such an emphasis on custom games and custom game browsers that a lot of new players thought that like, oh, I'm supposed to be playing custom games.
Yeah, you'd see people making rooms and they just sit there with like 1 out of 10 people and be like, I guess I'm supposed to be waiting for people to join.
You're like, no, this is not a server-based game where you make your own server and wait for people to join. No, you hit the queues. Yeah.
And then under training is your conquest tutorial, range tutorial, jungle practice, right? So it's still easy to get to all those things. And then the last thing I'll call out is that so versus AI actually goes a layer deeper. So you click versus AI, then you click conquest, then you'll pick which difficulty level you want.
Cool. Yeah.
So you do still get to pick a difficulty level. It's just 3 clicks in. And we think this is a good layout for the screen in part because is the home screen safe to show right now?
I believe it is. There might be a slight spoiler for another skin that we're going to talk about later, but that's fine.
That's
That's fine.
Oh, no, there's not even. Okay, so also as part of this, the button has changed. So you'll see it's just slightly different in style, but there's no longer a separate change queue button. You just click on the top part to change which queue you're in, and then you click play and click, and then the function of that will change. So should be a little bit more straightforward. We're still working on a couple things about this button in this presentation, but it's too high right now. There's some other things that are going to get better about this, but there will also be a different button interaction, and it will remember the last mode that you played, same as we're doing right now. So you don't have to go into picking your queue every time you want to play, but it should be a lot easier to pick queues and to understand what you're picking.
Yeah.
So
is that it for queue screen?
I think that's it for queue screen.
Chat will get to it, I promise.
What is quick play? That's a good segue.
We'll get to it.
I'm just gonna go ahead and queue for it. I'm gonna hide cams because it will take me to the lobby. There are probably some stuff in the lobby that I don't want to show, but I'm gonna go ahead and queue for it, and I'll bring us back in game whenever I'm in game.
What? You give me a look.
Well, you're like there's a pause.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I wasn't trying to be overly dramatic. I was just trying to think of the best way to start. So, quick play is an all new style of playing that's coming to Smite 2 as part of this update. That's kind of an experimental testing ground to do a number of new things. The number one goal of quick play, like I said, is to be this experimental ground and to see both how new players and existing players react to some potentially bigger changes to the core Smite formula. So in this first out, we're going to have Quick Play Arena. And Quick Play Arena is going to be the default queue for new players because we want to know how new players react to playing the game with these changes. Once you get to a certain level, you'll unlock the normal casual queues. Once you get to another higher level, you'll unlock the competitive queues, same as always. But this will be the new default because we want to see how it affects new players and how they react to some of these things. But a lot of these features are things that we think could escalate and leave the quick play queue and become part of core Smite over time, possibly very soon if people are like, this is amazing and we should just do it. But we wanted to try these things in a safe place first.
Cool.
Did I describe that fairly well?
I think that's good. It gives us an opportunity to also just like, there's some things that like we'll debate internally about, does this feel good, does this not feel good? And when you're talking about disrupting a whole bunch of core existing players' feels about how the game is, it feels really weird to like try and move that into that mode, where this mode is largely it's going to be focused on new players, and they'll be a really good litmus test for how things just feel as a gut reaction. And it also gives people who are existing players the opportunity to try them out and give us feedback on it, rather than it being in the middle of their ranked conquest experience, right? So we'll take big swings here sometimes.
Big swings. I keep talking about big swings. This is where you'll see most of those start out, right?
All right. Well,
so
let's take a look at it, shall we?
And I will say, why is it called quick play? Somebody asked. It's called quick play because we want to make, like, the match itself should be faster. And that's just part of the thing. So we'll get into the whole shebang here.
All right, cool. Well, I am bringing up the handy dandy desktop, and immediately something's different.
Yes. So the first thing you'll notice is you actually are going to choose a build, and this isn't just auto build. And these text things are very simplistic in what they are, and we're working on the presentation of the screen. But the goal is here to just give a player an idea of what they're going to be doing this match. So do you want to focus on crit damage, attack speed, or do ability damage?
Let's crit.
Yep, so hit crit, and let's hope this works. If you hit I real quick, we can
See if it worked.
Just see if it worked.
No,
Oh,
no.
no.
We come back.
You can rejoin.
We're still a little
Yeah, we're working on bugs right now.
So real quick, why are we doing this now? Where you have to pick a style of build at the beginning, and then pick your own items. Because historically we tried to hide building for new players because we were like, oh, it's overwhelming. We don't want to, like, they should just have fun and play the game. But we've been hiding one of our biggest selling points for why you want to play Smite.
All right,
it is fun to come up with a build and to theory craft and to build against people. So we're trying to make it easier for new players to understand like what's the fun in this game with items with a slightly simplified way of approaching it.
Yeah, so now what it'll do is as you play this match, you'll accumulate gold like normal, and then when you have enough gold, it's going to pop up the screen that says, hey, pick one of these 3 items. Let's go. Do you want strength? And we need to go fix some of the text on there. It's in my past, like displacement immunity on Devour's Gauntlet is really weird text for it to be there because that's not what it does. But essentially, you're going to read these short descriptions and go, yeah, that sounds really interesting. Let's go.
I want rage.
Yep, you pick up rage.
I'm going to go play.
You'll keep playing, and you've made a choice. You've kind of learned a little bit about what rage does rather than being just given it and you don't really ever learn the item. And then as you play, you're just going to continue to accumulate gold. You're going to be presented these options, and you'll just keep making a build based off what is presented in front of you. It means that you get to learn a little about the Smite item experience without it being completely obscured by auto-buy, but it also doesn't mean that you have to dive into the whole component-based system and super strategic depth and optimizing these build paths. And it's something that everyone's going to be experiencing, so you're on even footing with it.
Yeah, and I think another good part of that is that this is tier 3s only. So you aren't, you cannot build normally in this mode.
Yes.
You are presented with 3 tier 3s from a pool that is selected by your initial decision.
Yeah.
And then you pick one of those 3 tier 3 items.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty straightforward system that should be easy for players to understand, very roguelike, and very understandable if you've played other modern games.
Yeah.
Cool.
It also
Can you turn down the volume on the game a little bit?
Oh,
I feel
yeah,
like
one
it's super
second.
loud
Yeah.
right now.
Also, just really cool quick tech things. It also has a lot of support in the back end for us to adjust probabilities of things, and also ways for you to deviate. So if you pick the ability side, we might suggest a rage still and be like, hey, does rage sound interesting? And if you pick rage, it actually says, okay, cool, Deathbringer is now on the table for you, so that later on we can give you a high chance of seeing a Deathbringer because you chose to kind of deviate in the build. It tries to support things that you're trying to do. It also supports Vulcan, which I wasn't expecting this patch. So Vulcan actually has his roguelike pick 3 at 1, 7, and 14 actually works, which is just really, really cool. And it's just, I think this is going to be a fun way for new players to just get into the action immediately.
Yeah, and I'll say, somebody says, well, I know how to use items. I should be able to build the way I want to build. This is one of those systems that I don't foresee us bringing a full roguelike building system into the normal queues ever. But we may add a separate tab of the screen which presents items in this way, so that if you're used to this style of building, you can transition more easily into playing the more classic gameplay if you want to do that.
Yeah, so it's all about getting people to. It's with auto-buy, you could turn on auto-buy and then never look at it again.
You never pay attention to the items. You don't know what they do.
Don't understand why this game's fun.
This introduces it to you. It gives us a clear path that when people do move outside of this mode, they can have something that feels familiar to them, but you can still have the full depth available for when they're ready to explore it, and be way better equipped to actually explore it this time.
Okay, so that's the first thing. There's a lot of stuff in Quick Play. The second thing, can you push the shift button?
Sure.
Yep. You have a little micro dodge. If you are looking at that, it's on the relic thing. Right now, that's a bug. It's not supposed to be on top of the relic thing. But there is another bind for you to use, which is this little combat dodge.
Yes. We like the idea of giving players more tools to be able to play the game with.
Yes.
And to do things that lean a little bit more into the action-y, fun aspects of Smite. This is obviously a big change to the game. Giving everybody a dodge is crazy, right? I have dodged a lot of abilities, and maybe it doesn't feel good when your ability is being dodged. But the fun thing is that everybody has this, right? And you can play around it in a way that, I think the best corollary to this is like combat blink, right? People liked being able to reposition in the middle of combat, but repositioning in the middle of combat when it was sometimes asymmetrical, when it was hard to read how people were moving and hard to play around was harder for us to be cool with. But this has been really fun in our playtesting and has been something that like we've playtested this in Conquest and it's been fun. But we wanted to give it a first try here in quick play as this experimental thing to where we may eventually, include this in another mode. I would say you can't do it while you're crippled.
Yeah, it follows the same rules as like any other dash ability would. So if you're crippled, silent, stunned, you can't use it. It doesn't give you iframes. It doesn't. It has a few other small features, like for example, if you're running forward, if you just hold running forward, see how you still are kind of moving faster. That's something we're experimenting with. We've also talked about like expanding on the system more to try more experiments, like maybe different types of characters get different types of these abilities where the way they move is slightly different. Ranged versus melee characters right now, actually. The melee dash is actually a bit stronger than the range character dash. So this is just a lot of room for us to explore this type of thing. Obviously, cooldown's very low, but we wanted to make it a powerful thing that players interacted with, again, because we're just seeing how this feels to actually have in the game in a mode that's really safe for us to experiment with this stuff. And it also gives new players coming in a bit more of an action-y feel, and we'll see how they feel about that.
Yeah, and right now the UI is bugged, right? It shouldn't be displaying on top of the beads. That's something that we'll be fixing before it goes live. It does not give you iframes while you're dodging. It just lets you reposition. And it's
8-way, so you can backwards, you can left, right.
Yeah. So that's one of my crazy things. Another thing which you have been seeing this whole time, but perhaps have not realized it, is that in quick play, your auto attacks are traveling slightly faster. This is basically the same as if you had Griffin Wing Earring in SMITE 1.
Correct.
So we feel like there is room for base attack speeds to move slightly faster so that they feel better. So, maybe it's a little bit easier to hit, but there's still some counterplay to it, especially with dodging now, right? But it just makes playing the game feel a little bit better for new players in a way that felt good for SMITE previously, right? Because like Griffin Wing Talon or Griffin Wing Earring didn't break the game. Just increasing the auto attack speed slightly could potentially be another way that we're experimenting again in this mode to see how it feels.
And then I think the other thing about quick play is you can tell the game's actually about to end.
Yeah.
It's probably actually a little fast right now. We were talking about like the actual tuning. Like we need to do some things to tune the speed of this, but it is meant to be faster than a standard arena match. As well as it's a lot more accelerated in the amount of gold and experience you get. And the death timers are a lot faster, so that you just get back into the action more. Again, the goal is
we lost.
You get into this, you have a relatively quick experience. I think we're looking about 10 to 12 minutes is kind of our goal right now. And so we're doing things to make sure that it fits that mark. We're in the middle of doing a balance pass right now.
Yeah. Chat has a good question. How does this work on console? On console, this is going to be bound to, I believe, the same button as cancel skill. So if you do not have a targeter out, then that button is dodge. We played around with a lot of things. That was a button that we've always had in the back of our head as if we were to do something like this would be a really good home for it. So it's a pretty obvious face button. It does mean you can't dodge while you have a targeter out, but you probably would want to cancel that targeter anyway at first.
Yeah.
So that should be pretty good.
Yeah. And then I think another note that someone brought up about like, isn't this just a buff to like ADCs? Well, one, it's for quick play only, so it doesn't affect anything outside of that. But two, if this were to expand out because people like it, we would be looking at how to make that work. Like we're already in talks right now about like range characters, making the auto attack the thing that they primarily use feel really, really good was the goal. Melee attackers also have room for improvement too in ways that they feel they could get different types of advantages. There could be different trade-offs that are made. If any of this stuff moves out of quick play, which again, it's just an experiment bed, if people like it, we can talk about moving it out of that. It would come with the suite of things that need to be done to also support it, right? Like if you just make every hunter auto attack 40% faster and you release that out into ranked, it's a hunter meta almost instantaneously, right? And we're aware of that, right? That's why it's like running this test of how does this improve the feel for players who are just playing the game for the first time. If you bring it to everyone, it will just fundamentally ruin the ranked experience because it would completely upend the balance. But if we know that it has legs to continue iterating on and exploring on, we can start to do that work that makes it make more sense.
Yep. Okay. Do you want to do the next?
Yes,
piece?
let's do it.
So we are also going to be making a change to action cam.
Cool.
To push the game again even more into a more familiar place for people who have. Oh, you don't have your reticle. That's weird.
If you cast your ability, it might turn on.
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to try and make it even a little bit more familiar for people that are familiar with other kinds of games, and this lets you do something really fun. Can you aim up? So this may seem very awkward to people who have played a lot of Smite 1 as it, or Smite 2 as it is, right? But if you are used to playing more third-person shooter type games, your aiming feels so much more natural in this kind of experience. Because Smite has a very awkward style of aiming anything by default. Because you are controlling your character, but where you are shooting is always forward from your character, and it is not where you are looking. This is extremely mind-breaking to a lot of new players, and we've gotten feedback from a lot of people that it's just just that is something that people cannot get used to. So this is a change that will allow you to play more like you are used to if you are coming from a different game, and all of your abilities still work the same. They still lines along the ground, still circles on the ground, right? This is for basic attacks only, can now be aimed up and down, and you can miss by aiming too high or too low. Again, this is an experiment. We want to see how people feel about it. But we're more willing to make some crazy experiments like this and see how people react, right? And if we get feedback from people like, oh my God, this is amazing, right? Then there's more that we can do to make this have even more gameplay meaning, to be more interesting. I will say, I have been playing using this exclusively in our internal playtest since we got it in.
Yeah.
And I have played Hunters, I played Mercury, I've played a lot of different characters, and it feels pretty darn good, and I have not noticed a significant drop-off in my ability to play the game. There are definitely some times where you are going to be hit by somebody behind you or close to you that you wouldn't see in this view, but I find it a lot easier to keep track of what I'm shooting and where I'm shooting, and because of that, I haven't noticed a big fall off in my performance. Again, if you're a top level ranked player, probably not the view for you. Same as the last version of Action Cam. You picked up the fireworks.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, so this is a pretty different experience.
Yeah, this one is not tied to quick play. This is just tied to a specific camera setting. So this is more of if you choose to turn on the setting, you actually have access to it everywhere. But it's not going to be the expectation is it's not going to be for everyone. This is going to be mostly for just players coming into the game. That's going to be the people who experience it. And the people who want to try it and turn it on can turn it on and try it.
Yep.
Obviously, we said that last time. We've learned a lot about how to make sure that actually happens. But
yes,
again, that's just stating our intent.
Yes.
Cool.
Anything else with quick play?
I think that's it. And like we said, this is not tied exclusively to quick play. You can equip Action Cam and use this camera view everywhere. But all the other things that we've talked about as part of this quick play segment are quick play specifically.
Yes. Can you aim at jumping people? Just to answer a few questions, you can't aim anything that's not basic attacks up or down. So if you raw ult the sky, it will not aim up into the sky. It's still going to fall on the ground. So you can't also throw Aladdin ult at someone up in the air. If they're in the air, you can't aim at them and hit them. Again, Smite is not built to support aiming up at people. So this is really just to get if you are a person used to experiencing this type of aiming style, it's a bit more...
it feels more natural.
It feels more natural to people who are this is the way that they're used to playing a lot of other types of games. And eventually, they'll either learn the quirks of Smite and they'll play with that, or they'll change the camera setting. But we think this is going to lead... and that's the goal of the experiment. Is we think this is going to lead to a better first-time impression of the game. You're more in the action. You're more in control of where you're actually shooting, where you're aiming. And then if that's not the case, then we'll know, and we can move forward with that, right?
Yeah.
Like, again, when we say swing big, there are going to be some things we do that you're like, well, why would you ever try and do that? Some things are going to be really cool. Reason why having this kind of testing ground and like how we can focus where these experiments are run give us actual runway to try some stuff out.
Yeah, and in this first out, there is not a like a zoom or an FOV slider, but that's something that we you know are willing to explore in the future, depending on how the initial feedback to this is, right?
Yeah.
The other thing that chat has said several times is, what if I am or can I headshot people?
Yeah.
You know, and that's something that's kind of come up comedically in our discussions. And you know, maybe there's a world where at some point, like if this becomes a popular thing, you need to balance out this camera versus the other camera by having certain pros to it or something. But that's not really on our to-do list right now, right? That's that's just something that has come up in conversation a lot because when you're playing this, it's like, oh, that would be cool if I could shoot headshots, right? But definitely not a not something that we're currently planning. Okay, I think that's it for quick play.
Cool. I'll bring us back to cams.
Okay, another thing that you probably have not noticed because you shouldn't notice, but it has been running this whole time. This patch includes our upgrade to Unreal Engine 5.5.
Yes.
So
Yes.
everything that you've seen so far has been running on Unreal Engine 5.5. You as a player will most likely notice this in less PSO caching hitches. You may notice improved performance on your PC. You may notice slightly lower performance on your PC. It kind of depends on your setup. We would love to hear from Flash Test, you know, if you happen to play on PTS, what your performance is like, and if you notice anything seriously wrong or not great, because this is a big engine change for us. And we will also, we also do have further like optimizations that we literally have in dev right now that just won't be on PTS later today. So there are some more optimizations yet to come. Next, I'm going to talk about audio stuff because that's also hard to show.
Let's get to it.
Okay, so we have changed the hit attenuation sound for basic attacks. So you will now hear your hits at full volume even when at max distance. So previously, if I'm Cupid and I'm shooting arrows, it's quiet if I'm hitting somebody far away and it's louder if I'm hitting somebody near me. Now you will hear that at the same volume level regardless of how far away they are, which should make it easier to know when you're hitting somebody, in addition to the hit marker plus the hit marker sound once we add that. There was also a change in how we are balancing audio mixing to where previously your allies were quieter, your enemies were louder, and you were kind of in the middle. Now, your allies are still going to be the same volume level they were previously. Your enemies are going to be at the volume level that you used to be, and you will be the loudest. Because the point is to try and get people to hear what you are doing better and have more impact for the things that you are doing. We've also redesigned Emir's basic attack hits with the volume increase, which is kind of a test to see how do you feel about this revised Emir basic attack sound, because we are potentially going to be applying a similar pass to all basic attacks, because we feel like basic attacks in particular don't sound punchy enough. And we think that that's something that's really missing from the game, is that visceral, satisfying, I have fired a basic attack, I have hit with a basic attack. So his normal basic attacks will sound a lot closer in volume level to his I'm attacking somebody who is frostbitten basic attacks, because we thought that those sounded pretty good. Cool. Can we go in game to look at just a couple of things?
Yeah, what do you want to look at?
Just anywhere we can attack a god. So like
let's
practice
see here.
spawn a god bot, maybe?
Ranged or melee, does it matter?
Doesn't matter.
Cool. I will pull it up and I will just go to practice and spawn a god bot here. Dun, 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 dun. And let's see.
Yeah, if you have, are you a range character or a melee character?
I'm a range character.
Okay, I was about to say, might actually show better. Okay, so when you, stop shooting for a second. Okay, so when you highlight a character, that character is still red in the way that they were previously, but it is only the outline of the character, and it does not fill the interior of their model. So if you get a little bit closer, you can see this a little bit better. So it's just this outline, so it doesn't obscure the character as much. If you are looking at a god that you can see through a wall, that will still be full of red, but this should just make the game look a little bit better while still making it really easy to understand who you are looking at with your attacks. If you actually attack somebody, we have added a hit reaction color to enemy gods.
Yeah, I see like the kind of white flash there.
Yeah. So and we're still fine tuning this, so it might be a little bit bigger than we intend it to be. It might be last a little bit longer than we intend it to be. But generally speaking, we needed to add more feedback to when you are hitting things. And this is not just gods. This is also, I think it'll work for the totem. I'm not sure if it works on the totem.
Let's see.
But it works on towers for sure. Yeah. It works on jungle camps. It works on minions. So it should just give you a lot more feedback to when you are hitting.
Yeah, and there was for some things they didn't have any flash. For some things like gods, they did flash red when you hit them. But because they were red and highlighting, that just it wasn't easy to tell. So now the fact that they don't get filled with red and then they get filled with a flash color makes it a lot easier. And then we did extend this out to a whole bunch of things that weren't receiving this flash.
Yeah, and you also have a red flash when you're getting hit. If you want to get hit by the jungle camp again.
Oh, I just killed it.
If you do bot shoot space 5, that would also do it.
And so again, just a, hey, I'm being hit red reaction there. So we have another thing that you have been seeing this whole time, but maybe you haven't realized, is we have changed the placement of damage numbers and how visible they are. You did this work, so maybe you could explain a little bit more.
Very briefly, the goal is that above the health bar of the target, that's where the damage number should appear now. Before, depending on the god's height, and it ended up being over the health bar, and it could render on top of the health bar. Now it should be pretty consistently above the health bar, and it should actually respect the character's like different capsule heights as well. There was a lot of issues before where, based off how it was implemented and how it tried to project into the world, it would work for some things really well, but not other things really well. We fixed it so that we can actually have more per unit control because we have a lot of units of different sizes. So then Miniwave also had this adjustment. So it should just help with clarity of like seeing the damage number above the person that you hit above their health bar. We've also changed a little bit of the default sizing of these things. There are some cases where like numbers can become really small to where you can tell what they are. There's now kind of a more consistent floor. And then also a lot of rules around like how, when a lot of multiple events happen, how they stack on top of each other from like the same type of actor, how they spread out a little bit. There's been some adjustments there, but the biggest is the placement.
Yep, and we also have added a new settings option to scale the size of your numbers.
Yes.
So if you want them to be a little bit smaller, a little bit bigger, you can now make a change in the settings and change that yourself. Okay, I think that's it for that one. Let me see if there's anything else in game to look at right here, or if there's other things I just need to talk about that aren't in game.
Can you turn the hit marker on off? I think that's, if you turn off the reticle, it's
there's a separate like I think it's called dynamic reticle or something that allows you to turn it off. Okay, I think that's most of the in-game stuff. There's if you go back to the, actually, can you go like, I guess you don't have to call you here, but I need to show it. It's okay.
Cool.
So you now will get notifications when your friends log in. So it should help you be aware of like, hey, a person that I am friends with is logging into the game. So that should help. There's a new button to very easily open up sending messages to your friends on Steam from your friends list. There's also been some fixes to the friends list, which should better reflect if your friends are actually online and what they're doing. So hopefully those all feel good. And so, yeah, somebody said, it doesn't matter if we can't see if they're in a game. Yeah, that should be fixed. That should be part of this. And we are also adding some party management functions to the 3-dot menu in the end of match lobby. Cool. So you can now add people to your party from, or invite them to the party from the end of match lobby. So it should be a lot easier to party up with people and to keep playing with people that you had fun with.
Yeah, a lot of social improvements there.
Yes. There are 2 new bots There is Medusa and Ganesha.
And that Medusa bot is a menace, chat. I am telling you, like she has been going ham in our
if you get
playtest.
If you get Medusa bot, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Yes. We have. Are you still in game? Are you on the home screen?
Yeah, I'm on the home screen.
Okay, go to the home screen real quick.
Yeah.
This is maybe a minor one, but if you notice on the rotators, they now have arrows to make it easier to go left and right. And we made the buttons bigger so they were easier to click on. We got feedback that it was just really annoying to, if you wanted to go back and look at something, like it was hard to click on it. So, and this should be a lot easier to click through. There is a new, I don't know if you can see it in dev. We have new, well, you don't have legacy gems, so not really. We do have new purchase buttons, which should better reflect like that you're saving off the diamond price by spending legacy gems, but harder to show off with this setup right now. We've added close buttons to the acquisitions pop-up and the daily login screen. So we think that every screen now should have a close button. So you will not be stuck on screens anymore wondering what to do. There is now a close or continue on every screen. There's an event for Independence Day.
Yeah.
You saw the fireworks
earlier today.
It's very similar to the egg event. You just pick up some fireworks and you'll get something for free.
Yeah,
I think it's a
global
special
emote.
global emote. Yeah. And we have skins and we have balance. And I think that's pretty much everything.
Lots and lots of quality of life improvements for sure.
Yeah, tons of stuff already.
Sweet. Well, you want to hop in and start talking about the new Travelers?
Yeah, let's talk about the Travelers.
Sweet. I have got the Beach Babe Traveler up first just because Beach Babe Aphrodite has been a consistently requested classic skin in Smite 2. And she's coming back as a part of a Traveler here. And again, these screens are kind of work in progress.
Yeah, the art is not done for the actual prisms. It's just temp. But
actually, I saw the APR. It looks really good.
Yeah.
So, of course, if you buy the Premium Traveler, you will get Beach Babe Aphrodite for free. You will also get the Beach Vibes Only badge in this collection and the Inflicted Jealousy tracker, a new tracker for Aphrodite. The total time Aphrodite has made her allies jealous by kissing an enemy, finding a new soulmate, or by triggering undying love. So it's cool. I believe this is the first time we've had a tracker in a Traveler, which is cool.
Yeah, and I would say also like on the model itself, I believe that the team did a little bit of work to like further update that from Smite 1 to make it look better. Like it wasn't just a direct, straight port the way some of them are. And then they also went the extra mile to make unique swimsuits for each prism.
So let's talk about the prisms here. The first one is Aqua Splash and a brand new swimsuit for Beach Babe Aphrodite. Sick. The next one is White Sands. I love the white and the pink. And then last but not least, Midnight Cove Beach Babe Aphrodite.
Yeah, so 3 kind of fully different outfits as prisms. So kind of pushing how far we can take prisms. We definitely won't always do this, but the team thought it was a good opportunity and seemed cool.
Yeah, and the prisms for this next Traveler are insane. So I'm going to pull this back to cams really quick while I bring up the screen.
Yeah, next Traveler also, we're kind of experimenting what it means to be a prism and how far we can take something from the base skin while still calling it a prism.
Yes, so we've got Chef Special Kefri is back.
And everybody loves the lobster.
Oh, yeah.
Again, this art is temp because we have better art that is going to be in-game tomorrow probably in the next build.
And then in this Traveler, you've got the Chef title and the Grill Master badge, but of course, you will get the classic skin for free if you purchase the Premium Traveler. But the prisms are sick. The first one is Beach Blue.
Yeah. So as you notice, he doesn't have a hat and he doesn't have the butter, right? We experimented with taking some things out of some of the skins and adding some things to other ones based on what we thought would look cool. And this is actually modeled after a specific real kind of like
the
lobster.
super rare blue lobster. Yeah. The next one is Bumble Sea.
Yeah. Again, a rare real kind of lobster with some extra extra stuff on it.
All right. The next one is Storm Tide.
Yeah.
I like the.
I like this one a lot.
I know.
I think this one might be
Style.
my favorite.
Yeah, this one's great. The last one is definitely my favorite. Though,
Yeah.
because
The
it's
last one's
insane.
kind of crazy.
The last one is called Razzle Shade, and I'll let chat have 5 seconds to envision what it's going to look like before I click it. Here you go. Hindi used this in a playtest the other day, and I was like, "What the heck is this skin, yo?"
This reminds me of like I would play exclusively the raw skin where he looks like cracking and glowing, and there's like a similar Freya skin that was just like pure rainbow, just to have that visual for my enemy.
And yes, chat, the colors do change like this while you're in game. It's super sick. The
Yeah.
team did an outstanding job on this prism.
Yeah, and just, if you are newer to Titan Talk and the new format of these Travelers, right, the classic skins will be available for Legacy Gems once the Traveler is complete. So you can still get the skins for Legacy Gems. Basically, right, if you buy the Traveler, you're getting all the prisms at a discounted price, plus this extra stuff, and it's just kind of like a slightly early access way to get it.
Yeah. Well, those are our 2 travelers for the update. Gonna back the cams. That way I can go to the God screen and pull up Syla, because Syla is getting a cross-gen skin in this update.
Yeah, we're almost caught up on the cross-gen skins. I think we have a couple left. But this is one that we had been waiting for. This is Trash Goblin Syla. So this is...
I heard trash, and I thought you were just gonna stop there. I was like,
This is trash, yeah,
this skin is trash. Trash Goblin Syla. So this was a cross-gen skin from Smite 1. So if you owned it in Smite 1, you will get it in Smite 2. And we did introduce some prisms for it as well, because the team had a little bit of time and they thought it would be cool to make some prisms for it.
So the first prism is Pale Pest. Little white and purple action there. The second prism is Ruby Rummager.
I like this one.
Yeah, this is great. I like this one. The red and green really complements each other. And then last for this is Possum Pink.
Possum Punk.
Possum Punk.
Yes, it's very punk style.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah. So, if this skin is your style, you'll be really pleased about it. This skin is not my style, but
you don't like the possums?
Certain people on the team were really excited about this skin idea, and so we made it. And it's a cross-gen, so we had to bring it over to Smite 2, and here it is. So hopefully you guys think it's cool, because, like I said, some people really like this skin. It's just not my personal taste, I'll say. So.
Sweet. Well, goodness gracious. It feels like we had so much in-game. Is there anything left on your list for in-game Kilgoon before we pull up the balance doc and talk about that?
So we're at 157, and we will get to balance.
Yes. So it won't be quite 2 hours. But okay, just to recap, the stuff we've talked about already. We talked about Mercury. We showed off Mercury's Ascension Pass. We showed off Nuwa's Aspect. We showed the new Quick Play mode, which includes a dodge button, faster basic attack projectiles, the roguelike purchasing, faster pacing, and the Action Cam 2.0, which isn't actually tied to Quick Play, but is kind of tied to it in terms of our experiments. We talked about how this upgrade will take us to Unreal Engine 5.5. We showed off the hit markers and kill markers, as well as the aim reticle. We didn't show off aim reticle coloring, but we talked about that and being able to change the thickness. We showed off the new play screen and the new queue screen. Oh, I didn't talk about something.
Oh, there we go.
In the lobby, we're in the process of reframing all of the gods. So that right now, some gods are kind of off screen, some gods are too low, and they just don't fill the space well. So we're reframing all of the gods in the lobby as kind of the first part of, a multi-phase project to hopefully really improve the lobby presentation. So this is the first step. I don't know if all of the gods have been reframed yet. There may be a few that need a little bit of tweaking still, but just in general, they should look more impressive when you click on them. So that's something I didn't mention until right now. So
nice.
We talked about the audio improvements, changing basic attack hit attenuation, making your own sounds louder, and Amir's basic attack changes. We talked about the outline for targeted players and the hit reaction coloration, friend login notifications, the Steam messaging button, party management, and a match lobby, damage number placement and visibility, the being able to scale the size of the numbers, new Medusa and Ganesha bots, new purchase buttons, the improved rotators, the close buttons, the Chef Special Traveler, the Beach Traveler, the Trash Goblin cross-gen, and the Independence Day event.
Yes. Sheesh, that's a lot.
Yeah. Yes. So now it's time to talk balance.
Let's talk balance. Give me a second to bring up the balance doc here. Kilgoon, I feel like you've been talking a lot, so we'll give you a little bit of a break, and me and Pon will talk balance.
Yep.
Dun, 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 dun. All right.
Kellen says that there's also announcer packs.
Oh, yeah.
On here. So
nice.
it's
cool.
like at least 10 new announcer packs.
Sweet. Those will be added to the chest, I assume. But let's talk about balance, and I will bring us up. We'll kick off item balance first, Pon. But do you want to give us kind of like where we're going with this patch? What's kind of like the overview of where you're going here?
So a lot of the balance is going to be just targeted towards either characters who are underperforming or characters who are overperforming and just doing additional nerfs to them. There's only really one kind of major game-wide balance thing, which is we feel like after all our item changes, and we've done this a little bit, like we did the recent strength pass, because we're like, this part of the game is probably a little bit underperforming. There are a few gods who are overperforming, but those are probably god problems, and we need to address the core underlying issue and nerf them. The next one is we do think that after all of the dust has settled, especially solo lane, bruiser, physical side itemization is probably suffering too much. Solo lane mages have been doing really, really well. We've taken some of their items down, and we think that they're probably actually at a good spot of power level. But we've just seen that generally the solo lane warriors, outside of a few, like just don't compete as well. And we think that's partially an itemization problem, partially a per character level problem. So you'll see that we've buffed quite a few kind of more tankier or things that would actually fit well on a bruiser, as well as we'll talk about the per character balance that we're doing as well.
Sweet. Well, item balance up first. A couple of changes here. Berserker Shield, just increasing the physical procs by 5 from 15 to 20.
And these are going to feel light, but we also know that, like, especially when it comes to solo lane itemization,
we don't want to go too far in the other direction.
It does not take much to break it, and we wanted to let a lot of the dust settle before we did things that are too intense. Some items are getting slightly bigger adjustments because Berserker Shield has its place in some builds already, but it's just generically not good enough, whereas Gladiator Shield should be part of probably more core builds, and it was struggling more, so it probably needed more help, things like that. So yeah, first off, Berserker Shield just increasing the protections makes sense. It just was underperforming. Contagion, this one's not so much targeted towards that, but it does affect them, which is this kind of anti-item wasn't really doing enough to justify its purchase. So increasing the health regen just makes it that you can sustain a lot more, but it also means that the cooldown reduction that we're getting when people actually use abilities and you actually get that CDR from it, we're doubling that in strength because we think this actually had quite a lot of room to go up in power.
Cool. Genji's Guard is up next, just increasing the magical procs by 5 and decreasing the passive cooldown by 5 seconds.
Yep, magical protection, especially like strong magical protection items. It's something that we'll probably look at more in the future. But Genji's Guard was an outlier where it was really underperforming, so making it so that it has more protection, has that decreased passive cooldown, just makes it more attractive.
Cool. Gladiator Shield up next, increasing the bonus damage on this item.
Yeah, so Gladiator Shield is kind of meant to be the really high protection bruiser payoff, and it just wasn't doing enough. It was also really hard to fit into a build at really any time. Having no damage until you got it meant that, like, if you built it like third, you didn't have enough time to really ramp it up, and by the time you got to late game options, the payoff still wasn't good enough. So like this is hitting kind of both sides, where if you want to flex it like by third item, this should be better, but as you get more payoff for it, it's going to be stronger in general.
Cool. Next up, we have a couple of recipe cost change for Lifebinder and Runeforged, both seeing some decreases there.
Yeah, Lifebinder, it doesn't really go with the rest of the notes about like the solo lane physical side balance, but it's just it was a fun support item that was really, really popular. We nerfed it quite a bit. We probably nerfed it too much, and this is just kind of a corrective back.
Yeah. And then Runeforged also seeing a decrease there.
Yeah, and that one's a pretty big cost decrease. And this is a really stat-efficient health and strength item. So this gives you a lot of bulk and a lot of strength out the gate. So this should be a lot better in general.
Yeah. And then last up for items, Shogun's Ofuda, increasing the magical prots and increasing the passive attack speed.
Yeah, and this is for more of those on-hit bruisers, so like your Bellonas of the world. This item was just not quite good enough to make it into those builds, even for those types of characters who could actually leverage the attack speed really well. This should just generally feel better for them.
Yeah. All right. Next up is a conquest change. Before we get into guides, we're making a change to the side teleporters. The side teleporters will now start disabled and will activate at the 10-minute mark. So these are the teleporters that are adjacent to the Harpy camps on the side lanes, not the ones from base.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of feedback in two different sides of this. One is that there's a lot of farm on those outer sides of the lanes. There's a lot of incentive to go over there. But when you do go over there, there's a lot of immediate pressure you can provide to an enemy team they don't really have much feedback that's going to affect them. And so while you're just kind of having your fun laning matchup, it can get really easily disrupted. We thought this was interesting to kind of shake up the laning phase, but over time it's become more and more of the solo laner is really strong and now I have to play super passive the whole time because they could just show up at any moment. This means that's actually more limited. You can still get to different sides of the map really fast as the game goes on. But that laning phase is going to be a bit more reserved, where if the solo laner is going to come over and help out a lane that's
they've
across
got to
the map,
invest that time.
they got to invest that time.
Yeah.
It's really more the jungler and the mid laner who are going to be more generally responsible for kind of helping out each side of the lane as needed.
Yeah. Now we will move on to God Balance. Under nerfs, I have the Ganesha changes here that went live today, just in case people missed the top of the show. The Aspect did get some nerfs to the Ohm ability 2, remove the protection buff for allies and self, decrease the movement speed, and decrease the damage and intelligence scaling.
Yep.
Now for the main patch, things that are in OB13, shifts up first. Agni, let's talk about Agni. Aspect of combustion, we're going to be decreasing the combustion damage, and then we're going to revert a previous change where we are decreasing the cooldown from 20 seconds to 18 seconds.
Yeah, we did some previous changes to Agni overall. It affected base Agni a bit too much. It didn't affect combustion Agni enough, and so we're kind of just correcting that here. We're actually targeting more directly the aspect of combustion and bringing back some of that Rain of Fire power back to the base Agni kit. This is also a buff to combustion side. The cooldown is going to infect there as well, but we think this nerf to combustion ignite stack multiplier is going to more than make up for that.
Cool. All right, buffs for OB13. Achilles up first. Shield of Achilles. We've increased the fall-off damage from 70% to 80%, and then increased the damage on combat dodge.
Yep, so this should just help his laning phase overall. And it also means that as you get further and further into the game and you actually get ranks of combat dodge up and going, the base damage is going to contribute more, which means that he has a bit more pressure in the later stages of the game. Again, we want to have the payoff for building these more traditional solo strength-based characters, melee characters, in the solo lane, and we think Achilles, he was one of the, we kind of looked at generally who was performing, who wasn't. Yep. Achilles was struggling.
Cool. All right, next up, Bellona, seeing some buffs. Scourge increased the heal, and then Eagle's Rally, the ultimate, increasing the damage on that.
A more significant buff than I would say Achilles was. Just the extra sustain is going to be really, really good overall on Scourge, but the big thing here is that she's going to be really threatening at level 5 now. The ult being 300 damage is a really, really massive buff. This is going to make her a much more threat in the lane phase. We think she actually scales into late pretty well. She can be very effective anti-hunter, just in general. But that laning phase, she felt like she got bullied too hard, didn't really contribute enough. She had a lot of nerfs before. This brings back some of that strength in a unique way.
Yep. All right, Cerberus up next on the list. Stygian Torment, decreasing the cooldown on the ultimate.
Yep, just we think that this ability has room to come down. We think that it's the thing he brings to team fights in general. He was struggling a little bit just across the game. Again, not too much in regards to the soul lane discussion. We think this is just going to help him out a little bit.
Yep. All right, Danzabuto up next. Fool's Gold, decreasing the cooldown. And then Aurora's Rocket, the ultimate, increasing the damage and the int scaling.
Yep. He's going to be doing a lot more now. Being able to toss out more ones is obviously really, really good, but especially the inside scaling, being that more like burst side of it versus the on-hit. The on-hit one's really, really good because he gets a lot of clones if he wants to kind of go that playstyle route. But if he wants to actually go that more pure inside, this makes that a lot better. So it just gives him more incentive to go in a more dedicated route. It just helps the character who's been underperforming.
All right, up next for God buffs, Geb. A couple things. Rollout fixed an issue where the dash attack had more damage scaling than intended. And then Aspect of Calamity, we're going to be increasing the leap damage scaling from 50 to 75%.
Yeah, so I don't know too much about what the scale of this fix is, but that's going to end up being largely a nerf overall.
Yeah.
And then I assume the aspect changes there to actually largely resolve that change. This one I wasn't too involved in, so I don't know specifically. Clumsy might be able to help me out in chat.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's largely where this one is.
Cool. All right. Hercules up next. Mitigate wounds at 3. Going to be increasing the heal and increasing the bonus protections.
Yeah, Hercules is an interesting character because he has struggled win rate wise and even pick rate wise. But when he is very strong, he has a tendency to bully the early games in a way that people really feel like he's contributing a ton, even though that doesn't translate as well towards the later stages of the game. So we've nerfed him before. We wanted to target a change that we thought would actually help him address some of those more late game problems in focusing on the amount of heal that he obviously gets from mitigate wounds and the amount of bonus protection he gets from items. So he should be a lot bulkier without us buffing directly his ability to kill people in the early stage.
Cool. All right, up next, let's talk about Hua Mulan. Cross Strike, we're going to be increasing the damage. This affects both strikes when adept, and then Spear Thrust, increasing the heal on this ability. I know we've gotten a lot of feedback about Hua Mulan, so Pon, talk to me.
Well, we had this ready like 4 patches ago, but we just kept adding time to like when we'd release it based off the amount of people who posted.
Oh no!
Now the big thing is again, this is why we're doing kind of a lot of soul lane buffs. We've seen that soul lane is actually holding on pretty well, but in the last few patches specifically, that trend has changed to be a lot more widespread. Warriors generally that were doing pretty well before are now struggling more than they were before. We think she's in line for a buff. And we also had, we know that we want to go back and revisit her +1 pretty much entirely. But the amount of work that we have planned for that and the amount of ideas that we have, like where we want to take that, we've kind of stalled on it a little bit because to fundamentally change that +1, there's a lot more that goes into it. So we didn't want to hold anything else back. And she was definitely in line with all the rest of the warriors to get an adjustment. So yep, here we are. She's getting some extra damage on a cross strike, and that spear thrust healing is going to help her, especially a lot in sustaining against opponents.
Yeah. All right, next up, Kugel Khan is getting a new aspect. Well, not aspect, a new thing to his 2. It's hard to say.
A new feature.
I can't
New
say
feature.
aspect anymore. But Slipstream 2, new, the movement speed buff is gained when using the dash from this ability.
Yeah, so now you don't have to choose between the dash or the movement speed. It's now more conditional of if you are in the 3, you're basically always going to want to use this because you're basically going to get both the benefits.
Yeah.
And we think that this is just a better, like this makes the previous +1 we added him feel a lot more in line with a lot of the other +1s we've done for a character that needs some help.
For sure. All right, and last up on the list here that I have in text, one more thing to talk about after this, but Nemesis, Aspect of Justice, Divine Judgment, new, healing from this ability is unaffected by anti-heal.
Yes, so this aspect is really unique in the way that it tries to equalize health. But the second anti-heal got involved, it got very weird very fast, and it didn't feel like it delivered on the promise of the theme.
Yeah.
So we decided that it's not really a heal, it's something else.
Yeah.
Because it's described as like the idea is that you're leveling it, and that doesn't really feel like a heal in the same way.
Yeah.
And this just gives it a really unique niche. It makes the theme of the aspect a lot more on point. And it means that she doesn't get to basically not use this aspect because anti-heal exists.
Nice. Cool. Well, that is everything I have on this doc. One thing I do want to call out, Clumsy came in.
I was going to say this
before we started the show. Syla Aspect. He is looking into buffs for that. I know we've gotten a lot of feedback about Syla's Aspect. Just didn't have anything in time to add to this doc before the show, but expect something to be in full patch notes whenever we get to final patch notes.
I don't know exactly what we're going to deliver, but I can generally say the theme is allow for easier access to having the ultimate through either gaining mana or removing some of the restrictions. Yeah. She should get more ults off in general. The restriction right now is just too intense.
Cool. Sweet. Well, gentlemen, what a show, huh?
Yeah. No, a lot of great stuff. And I think that we the new quick play queue, right, will introduce a lot of experimental new features to the game, right? That we're really curious to see the overall player reaction to them, right?
Yeah.
I think that we are excited about the opportunity that comes with this queue and some of these experiments. And we definitely can see a world where they get integrated into kind of the core game, some of them at least, and really curious to see everybody's feedback. I will say flash testing, we are only going to have Conquest available today. We will not have Quick Play available today because there are a few bugs that we're still working out with it. So, sorry, you want to?
No, I was just saying, we had it, right now you have a 50-50 shot when you first load in, your pick 3 isn't going to actually load properly. We have a pretty good idea of what that is, but we didn't want to obviously have you guys playtest that and have a really bad experience. So I think we will try and turn it on later, but we just want to iron out a few things.
Yeah, because I believe we plan to flash test right after the show and then again tomorrow. So hopefully tomorrow's flash test will have Quick Play available.
Yep, and I think that we really want everybody to give Quick Play a try once it comes out and give us your feedback, because we really do see, like I said, we really do see a world where hey, maybe Dodge has a future in Real Smite, right? I think that this is so exciting to us because it's the first step towards some of these big swings, some of these bigger changes that might make bigger changes towards what Smite is. So I'm very curious to see how people react.
Yeah, and for example, can we do Quick Play without the FOV? Yeah, that's the action cam setting. That's where that's basically living under now. So you can actually access that outside of it, and it's not required for you to play Quick Play to have that cam.
And you can dash if you're not on action cam. I think the only thing tied to the action cam was the up-down aiming.
Yeah,
correct?
That's it.
Awesome. Is there anything else we want to talk about?
No, I think that was it.
Should we still do a one more question?
Oh yeah. Hey, we're
a little
here.
over,
yeah, we can do one more question. And,
okay.
and get to
obviously there's a lot to go. So if people have things you want to ask, I'm down with sticking around for a little bit.
Okay.
Cool. All right. So it's time for
One more question.
And we'll get ready for the flash test. That should be hopefully kicking off anytime.
I actually saw one question that I want to answer. I'll take another one after it though. Was what about Poseidon and Vulcan basic attacks on the aiming up? I actually didn't turn it on for them because I agreed. It felt weird that those attacks are very ground based and they feel like they come from the ground. Where we go from there, I can kind of segue this into the when does verticality come to the game, and there's a lot of fundamental assumptions that SMITE makes that makes verticality difficult, even as simple as things like there are attacks that feel like they're grounded because even though they're projectiles, they feel like they're grounded. There would have to be significantly more adjustments to do something like that. This is very much a focus on easing new players' experiences who are familiar with a different type of kind of aiming to help ease them into the world of SMITE and get them really excited about SMITE and wanting to become future SMITE players. That's really the focus of this. I think reading past that into other things we might be doing is probably looking too far because that would require significantly more adjustments.
Let's see here. Are you worried that Action Cam looking up to shoot basic attacks will confuse new players since they cannot shoot jumping characters?
And if it does, we turn it off. That's kind of the mentality of a lot of the quick play stuff and a lot of the new experience we're trying is swing big, see what happens, and we're not super married to these ideas and they have to stay in because for some reason we think they have to stay in. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yep. And let's see. Last person says maybe do balance on Mondays. Generally speaking, I think it's probably better to bundle everything together. You know, we don't necessarily have balance completely finalized on Mondays. Normally we have at least we're pretty close to it, but maybe not completely finalized. And I think that just the flow, we'd rather run through it all kind of on patch day. I think that this patch in particular was like, there was a lot for us to talk about with quick play. Future patches will probably stick closer to an hour. And I ended up not going over.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I was afraid we were gonna have like a 2-hour show or something.
Me too.
Yeah,
we made pretty good time. And Flash Test will be live today.
Yes.
We are expecting the update to go live on Monday. So, you know, give it a try on Flash Test, and then we'll see it in the live servers pretty soon here.
Sweet. Well, Kilgoon Pond, thanks so much for joining me on the show today. Chat, thanks so much for hanging out. Lots of exciting stuff in Open Beta 13 that players can look forward to. The Flash Test should be live hopefully right after we end stream. Keep an eye out on social media and our official Discord for Flash Test news and announcements. Also, leave your feedback and your bug reports in that server as well. We read all that stuff. And we'll be paying close attention to what you all think and any bugs that you report to make sure that the patch on Monday is super polished. But outside of that, we'll be back on Friday with another episode of Titan Talk. But until then, hope everyone has...
Chaz corrected me. Patches go live on Tuesdays, not Mondays.
Tuesdays,
now. So
yes.
next Tuesday, not next Monday.
Yes, next Tuesday. But yeah, hope everyone has a great rest of the day. Peace out.